The value of being the older guy, the older girl, the value of being maybe the oldest one that's doing the job. I have a Home Depot that I go to almost every day. That's kind of a business I'm in. And there's a particular guy in that electric department. His name is Ron. And if I have an issue that I don't understand, because I don't understand a lot of things, I can start to explain whatever it is to Ron. And once I get it explained to him, Ron's not a man of many words. Ron will look at me and he'll say, "Come with me." And he'll start walking. And I'll start following. And he'll walk past 10,000 different electrical parts and things that, that he's got memorized in his mind. And he'll walk me straight to what I need. And he's never failed me yet. Now, why can Ron do that? Ron can do that because Ron's got a lot of experience. He's an older guy. I don't know how old he is, but he might be the oldest guy there. When I go in there, I hope I see Ron, because if I see Ron, I know he's going to lead me in the right direction. Sometimes I'll run into in there and I can't find Ron, and I'll find somebody else. He'll be a new guy. And I know right away, he has no idea. It's a big store. I can't blame him. He doesn't have the experience. He doesn't have the knowledge that Ron has. I'm guessing Ron was an electrician too, because he knows everything there is to know about it. At least in my mind, he does. But I got to thinking about that, and I think that pertains to many different things in life, not just the fact that I guess Ron retired and he's working at a Home Depot now, but at one time he had a job. But just take other things. Maybe you're the person that worked in an office for 30 years or 40 years or whatever it is, and you kind of seen that. You know how things go. You know how things work. And then the new guy comes in, and he's a young guy, and he's got his own ideas, and you're sitting in the meeting, and he's proposing to make some changes. And in your mind, you already know. You know about those changes because they did those changes 10 years ago, and you remember how it worked out. And that's because you have that experience. That's because you're the older person. You're maybe the oldest person there. Sometimes we stop and we don't think about the value of having all this experience, having all this knowledge. And we think that maybe we lost something because we're retired or because we're just older. But if you stop and you think about it though, think about all the things that we've acquired. In my case, the kind of work I do, a lot of times there'll be an issue that comes up, and I've already seen that issue. Maybe I've seen that issue 100 times. It's a mystery to someone else. It's not a mystery to me, but the only reason it's that way because I've already done it before. So you can see how that works. And I can think of other situations in life that are a lot like that. I can think about my grandmother and some of the things that she would make. She would make biscuits, and she didn't have a menu, or not a menu, a recipe. She didn't have a recipe that she pulled out. She knew how much of this to put in and how much of that to put in, and they always turned out great, and every bit of it was right here in her head. And why was that? Well, it's because she had done it so many times. She had that experience. And I saw that with many things, and I used to know a lady that was a seamstress, and she could just grab something and make you whatever you needed. She could make it, or fix whatever needed to be fixed, put a zipper in, do whatever. And the reason she could do that is because she had done it so many times. It was old hat to her. That's just the way it was for her. I think that exists in so many different aspects of life. So when we start to think that, hey, we've retired and maybe some of our self-worth is gone, there's a lot of things that we can share. A lot of things that we could share with other people. A lot of very valuable things. And that's one of the great things about YouTube. YouTube, from what I understand, it's the second largest search engine behind Google. And of course, Google owns both of them. But You can go to YouTube now, and if you've got a situation where you don't know how to do something, if you're lucky, you're going to find some older person that's done it many, many times, and they have that experience. Now, I was going to say the same thing pertains to mechanics, but mechanics have changed a lot. Mechanics have changed to so much computerized stuff that some of the older guys that I know that were mechanics, and they were ace mechanics. I mean, they could do anything that involved, remove, replace, that kind of thing. But they've decided that, hey, this computer thing's not for them. Kind of a shame, but, sometimes we don't change when we should change. Sometimes we don't adapt when we should adapt. But overall, the knowledge that you have just from age, just from being around, just from seeing things that other people haven't seen, doing things that other people haven't done, or repetitive things that you've done so many times that you don't even have to think twice. It's like when I learned how to drive. I can remember when I learned how to drive. I'm 16 years old, and I've got this driver's ed teacher, and every single thing I had to think about. I'm sure that I could not chew bubble gum and drive. But now, what do? Shoot, I can listen to the radio, I can do whatever I need to do, and it's old hat to me because I'm experienced now. And I guess that's the thing about our brain, The more you do something, the more familiar you become with it, the easier it gets for you. You don't want to skip something, but the easier it gets for you. You just do it without thinking. Ron's kind of like that, I guess. I'll go in there and tell Ron what I need. He'll take me to where I need to go. I'll say, thank you, Ron. I've never had a long conversation with him. He's not a guy who just doesn't seem to be the kind of guy that, wants to stand around and talk. Ron was probably a worker his whole life, and Ron still is a worker. Plumbing's the same way. Now I keep going back to some of these trade things because that's what I know, but there's things that you know, and I'm sure you can relate to what I'm saying. I'm sure you had some kind of a business that you were in, some kind of an industry that you were in, and you can relate to these things. You can relate to the fact that the more knowledge you had, the easier it was to do. There's just an awful lot of value in the knowledge that you have. And if you got something out of this, I hope you did. I know it's just a thought in my mind, but I think it's valuable. And if you hung with me this long, I appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time. Maybe you'll give me a like, and maybe you'll subscribe. I really do appreciate all your time. Thank you.